Hello everyone, welcome to my crochet channel. I'm Sarah. Today I'm showing you how to join crochet granny squares as you go. This method is extremely useful, especially when you have to join many granny squares together, for example for a big project like a crochet blanket, because it saves you a lot of time. So typically you begin from a complete module, that is to say a granny square that is complete. In this case, I have created my first granny square of 7 rounds, in which the 7th round is this beige round here. In this case, the beige round, the beige color is the main color of the project, the background color, and the color that is going to be common for all squares. That is going to be the joining round for all squares. So now I need to attach this second granny square to the first one, and I'm going to attach it here on one side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working my 7th round in beige yarn around this granny square, leaving one side open, which is going to be the one side that's going to be attached to my first granny square. So what I do is I attach my main yarn here on one corner. That's very important. Okay, so I will start working. As you know, maybe if you follow me, you already know that I usually weave in my yarn ends as I work as well. So now I'm going to work my first group of 3 double crochets in this corner. The first double crochet is a chain 3 for me. Now second double crochet, third double crochet, okay, now I weave in my working yarn and I get rid of this. I will cut it off and weave it in later on. Okay, so as you see, this is the corner. I have started from the second group of 3 double crochets of my corner, and you will see why later on when I attach my granny square to the first one. So now I'm going to work all around my granny square. Sorry, not all around, but I'm going to work this side, then this side and the bottom side, and I'm going to reach this corner and leave this one open. So I will see you in a few minutes. So here I am with my unfinished second granny square. As you see, I have worked my round in color beige all around, but for this side that is left unworked, I have worked at corners 2 groups of 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2. So what I'm going to do now is to keep on working my side of my second granny square, but attaching it at the same time to my first granny square. So I go with my hook, I take my first granny square and go with my hook in one corner from front to back, so not like this as I would usually do, but like this, just because it looks nicer, because I'm working on the front side. Okay, this is very important. I take my yarn from behind with my hook and go with it through my chain space here, okay, and slip stitch here, okay, And this is my joining point. Now I need to proceed creating my last strip of border in my second granny square. So I'll proceed completing my corner with a second group of 3 double crochets. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now I will join again. That is to say, I will go with my hook in the same way from front to back in the next chain space of my first granny square inside, grab my working yarn from behind and let it pass through the chain space and slip stitch. Okay. Now back to my second granny square. I will work a group of 3 double crochets in my next chain 1 space here. Okay. Three, and again back to my first granny square. I will join in the next space from front to back, insert the hook in that space, grab the yarn from behind, let it pass through the chain space and slip stitch. This is what I'm doing. And back to my second granny square, I will work another group of 3 double crochets in my next chain space of my second granny square. Okay. And I repeat this until the end, basically. Okay, insert the hook. Can you see what I'm doing? Grab the yarn and slip stitch. And back at creating my last strip of border of my second granny square. Okay. And again. Okay, so now I've reached my corner again, which is the first of my second granny square, where I've already worked a group of 3 double crochets. So now I'm here in this position. I will work my, a second group of 3 double crochets in that corner. Okay, and here I'm going to insert the hook into the corner space of my first granny square, grab the yarn as I have done so far, and slip stitch. And in order to close everything together, I am going to slip stitch into the first of 3 double crochets of my first group in the corner here, which in this case is a chain 3. So I'm going to slip stitch into the third of the 3 chains here. Okay. There you go. Now I'm going to cut off yarn here and show you how it looks. There you go. So in this way I have saved time, because otherwise I would have needed to work a complete granny square from a second granny square as well, and then I would have needed to sew the two pieces together, and afterwards I would have to sew all other granny squares together, so this would take a lot of time, and I don't like sewing, by the way. So now I would like to show you how to join the granny square to two granny squares together, and to show you how to work at the junction point here. So for example, in my case, I'm working on a crochet armrest cover right now, so I need to produce a sort of three-dimensional form, but the same technique also applies in a case where you have two granny squares that are positioned in a T form, so perpendicularly to one another, like in this situation here, when you need to work at this point here. So what you do, first of all, again, we are at our seventh round, the last round in the beige yarn, and as you see, instead of working all the way and leaving just one side open, I've worked half of my granny square border in the beige yarn, leaving two sides open and unworked. So what I do now, I want to attach my granny square like this, okay, and go all the way from here to here and to here. So I'm using the same technique. So I have worked half of my corner here, so just one group of 3 double crochets. And now I go to the top corner of my 2 granny squares and insert the hook, just like I've shown you before, from front to back in my chain space at the corner of my second granny square in this case. Grab my yarn and join with a slip stitch and continue working on my unfinished side. So in this case I need to create my second group of 3 double crochets for this corner. Okay. Now, using the same technique I've shown you before, I'm going to proceed working by inserting the hook in the next space from front to back, grab my yarn from behind and complete with a slip stitch. So I'll proceed working using this technique until this point here, and then I'll show you how this point is worked. So here I am. I've crocheted all the way from the beginning to here. So second to last space, or the last space before the corner space, I'm going to work my group of 3 double crochets here. Okay. Now, okay, another space where I insert my hook, grab the yarn and let it pass from behind into the space. Now I'm going to work the first group of 3 double crochets in my square's corner here. this. Okay. Now, usually if I just had this one granny square, I would just insert my hook in the corner space here of my second granny square. But instead of doing this, I like it better if I insert my hook in the joining space here between the two granny squares of granny square 1 and 2, and use the same technique, join with a slip stitch, and then I go on with this side of my granny square and start creating my second group of 3 double crochets inside my corner. Okay, there you go. And now I will insert my hook into the next space, which is already on the other side of my square number 1. Okay, same technique. So I need to work my group of 3 here. Okay, and then attach here. And then you proceed just like I've shown you before until you reach the end. Okay, and then you will have something like this. Okay, this is a kind of vertex, how do you call it? This is my three-dimensional form. You can also create a cube in this way if you want. And this is how it looks. So I hope you like this technique. Let me know how, if you work with it, how you feel with it. And thank you for watching, and see you next time with another video from me on crochet or Tunisian crochet. Bye bye.